Konnichiwa minasan. Hello everybody, once again, welcome to the second video of this series, which kind of proves that this isn't just some kind of one-off video, which is awesome. I am officially in the collaboration channel. So, my name is Sam Harkin, and today's video is to teach you all the various hiragana so you learn them. So as mentioned in my previous entry, hiragana is pretty important because it's kind of the bread and butter of the Japanese language. So I'm just going to basically be using this video to show you all the characters and show you some neat little mnemonics for remembering them with little drawings that are all pixelated because I like the 8-bit style and because I want to protect the children. Not because they're explicit, just because I'm just not good at art. So that's why this isn't an art course, because I would just be doing a disservice by doing that. Anyway, the only trade-off of me rapidly trying to go through this so we can move on to actual Japanese stuff is that I won't be going into like how to write and stroke order and all that jazz. So I will try and leave some links in the description for how you can find sites to practice that kind of stuff. But anyway, let's get to it. The first character is A, and I remember this by kind of thinking that it kind of looks like a TV antenna on a house. So it is A for antenna. This character is E. The way I remember this is that the two strokes just kind of look like two eyes kind of at the end of the word Hawaii. So E for Hawaii. This is the character for U. It has a bit more of a story behind it, and the way that you can kind of see it is the bottom half kind of looks like a hunched over person with a cane, like an old lady or something. And the stroke above that is a branch that is falling out of a tree and hits the poor old lady on the back. Yes, I know it's a very horrible story, but what does the woman say when she gets hit by the branch? Ooh! If you look at A, it's actually kind of similar. The bottom half kind of just looks like the English letter Z or Z, but I'm not American, so Z. Difference, of course, being that on top there is an extra stroke. So it is E for extra. This is the character O. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like a golf green, and if you look at it just the right way, it kind of looks like a green with a flag coming out of it, and I've actually hit my ball on the green. So that is O for on the green. I'm sorry if these sound really convoluted. Those 5, those are all the vowels. And the main reason I kind of want to draw attention to that is because quite a lot of the characters are just going to be like variations on this vowels with different sounds at the start of them. So let's move on to the K sounds. We have Ka for cut the bread, because you can see we've got a knife and bread. So Ka for cut the bread. We have Ki, and it's probably fairly easy to see that it kind of just looks like an old tiny kind of key. So yeah, Ki for key. We have Ku, and it kind of looks like a bit of a bird. Maybe a seagull. No, it's a cuckoo bird. Ku for cuckoo bird. Have Ke, which has a crisscrossy pattern that kind of looks like a keg. So yes, Ke for keg. I'm really running through these guys. I mean, just Ko, just for coin. Ko for coin. Now onto the S sounds with Sa. And Sa kind of has this part that kind of looks like an old time kind of samurai sword. So it's Sa for samurai. Now the next one that I want to point out is a bit of a weird kind of character in that it doesn't follow the usual conventions of just being like a consonant and a letter. In this case, instead of being Si, it is She. And it's pretty easy to remember as well, because she has long hair. This is the character for Su, and you might notice that we've got a little circle here which is actually a seed, and it is growing roots and it is growing a sprout up the top of the earth and stuff, and it is soon to be a flower. So Su for soon to be a flower. Se. As we can see, we have 2 friends and they are watching the setting sun. So it is Se for set. For all you tailors and seamstresses and people who don't believe in the gender binary, This is the character So, and you can remember it because it's someone sewing a stitch. Sort of. Except it's a weird looking stitch. It's a weird looking character. Just remember that it's like a Z with a C over it or something. On to Ta. First we have Ta, which is just for, well, Ta, like, it's just such an easy one, so just remember that. We've got a nice cheese ball with a toothpick in it, so it is Chi for cheese ball. This is the character for Tsu, and to explain this you kind of have to understand a really, probably not really even a fact about Japanese people, but for some reason people think that when they sneeze they go Tsu! So it's Tsu for that. Going back to the normal kind of stuff, we have Te. And even though it's probably really hard to do because, as I previously mentioned, I'm bad at drawing, it kind of looks like a tennis racket after what was a not very fun match at all. So it is Te for tennis racket. You're gonna have to just deal with that shit. Character To, and oh my god, so much pain. There is a massive thorn in my toe. Well, actually, like, it should be like To, that's how you pronounce it. So it's To for To. Character for Na, and it is a nun praying, or just, yes, praying in front of a cross. So it is Na for nun. Ni, and Ni is just for knee, because that's what my drawing is supposed to represent, a person's knee. So yeah, Ni for Nu, and it is represented by a bowl of noodles with an egg. So yes, that's supposed to be an egg inside the circle thingy. As we can see, we've got a soccer net, except it's got a big hole in it. So it's Ne for net. And finally we have No, and I have no idea what this is. Okay, that was the one I was taught, but maybe that's kind of a lame one, so I'll give you a consolation one of No, as in like no smoking. So No for no idea or no smoking. So yeah, do whatever you want. The character for Ha, and you might actually think this is actually fairly similar to Keg, Ke for Keg. It actually is my keg, but unfortunately there's a massive hole in it, and my friend just kind of stood there laughing at me. Ha 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 ha. This is the character for He, and yeah, my other friend was laughing at me as well, and he was going he. I promise there's no more of these people laughing at people, because yeah, it's really hurting my self-esteem. Once again we have another weird character. Instead of Hu, this one is Fu. And it actually looks like a mountain. To be specific, it is Mount Fuji in Japan. So we're linking it back to Japan with the Fuji, and it is Fu for Fuji, and moving on. So this is kind of just looks like a thing pointing up. Where, you ask? To heaven. He is for heaven. This is the character for Ha, which you might realize is similar to the character for Ha. The only difference is that it's got a hat on because it's hot. That was really convoluted, but that's the one I'm sticking with. On to the M's, and we have Ma, which is just kind of a telephone line. And who do you want to call on telephone? Your ma, or your mum, or your mama, or just something that is your mother. And Ma is for that, as long as it isn't like mom, because then that's not Ma, so figure that out. This is the character for Me, and it kind of looks like a 21, who is this character is Mu, and it is Mu for moo cow. This is the character for Me, and what you might notice is that it's very similar to Nu. The only difference is the egg that we had in the bowl in Nu is no longer there. In fact, it fell on the floor, and it is very messy. This is Mo, and what you might notice is that there are actually 2 worms on this hook. And the reason for that is if you use more worms, you get more fish. So more for more fish, or more worms. Just more of something. Moving on to the Y, and we actually only have 3 characters starting with Y. Ya, which is Ya for, it kind of looks vaguely like a yak. Ya for yak. U, which is represented by this because it is no U-turn. And finally, Yo, which is a yo-yo. Here are the R sounds, and the thing to keep in mind is the R sounds kind of sound a little bit have a bit of an L kind of sound, so it's kind of like da, so just keep that in mind. First off, we have ra, which is a rabbit, because it's kind of half a rabbit, and now it's a whole rabbit because pixels and me trying to explain things. Next we have ri, and these kind of just look like reeds on the side of a river. So ri for reeds, or ri for river, but I think I'm just going to stick with reeds because that's easier. As you can see here, we've got a very nice ruby, and that's what's supposed to be inside the circle part at the end. Okay? It's a hiker who's kind of just sitting around and having a rest. Today is for rest. And finally we have ro, which once again, very similar to ru. The difference is that we don't have the little ruby. In fact, somebody took it. A rubber. Ro is for rubber. So now we have two that start with W. So we've got wa. And wa is for wasp, because, well, it looks like a wasp. The second one is technically considered a W, even though the W is silent, so it's very weird. Basically, it is o, which is kind of similar to o, but it's kind of supposed to be longer. I think it's supposed to be like o. Remember, this is that it is an Olympic discus thrower, so it is o for Olympics. And finally, we have reached the end with the letter N. It's the only just single consonant, no vowel kind of sound, and I kind of just remember it because it kind of just looks like an N. Sort of. It looks more like a H, but you can figure it out. It kind of looks like an N that's been drawn poorly or something. Anyway, so that was an incredibly riveting video, but it was one that we kind of had to do early on because of all the reasons I mentioned in the previous video. Anyway, we're going to be going over the second half, which is going to be like lots of bonus rules and stuff of hiragana, so you can use it to its full extent. So I'm going to be doing that next week, and that is going to be Thursday or like Friday if you're in Australia region, which is my region, so yeah. So please tune in for that. As always, leave any suggestions you have for other videos of like other language things or other culture things you want to learn about Japan, and I will happily take those on board. But otherwise, please subscribe to the channel, please support all the other collaborators that are hopefully posting by now, like the video, and I've said all the other things. So, sayonara!